Good morning, YouTube. MMA Joe here. This one kind of snuck up on us, so I know it's been a while, but Jake Paul, T. Woodley, man, that's going down on Sunday. So we got to talk about that real quick because there's just been so much going on around it the last couple of days. I made a prediction a while ago. As soon as this fight was announced, I will try to link that in the description, so maybe you guys can see that. Yeah, but don't really want to talk about the fight as much as what's going on, like I said, around it. Caught a great interview this morning, Ariel Helwani did, with T. Wood and Jake Paul, and it was very entertaining. I highly recommend that you go watch this. I mean, I really much preferred that over the whole UFC press event thing. I just thought it was a lot better. I hope this trend continues with fighters doing sit-down, face-to-face interviews a couple days before the fight. It's really cool. So let's talk about all the other stuff. Frosahabi. He comes out on his podcast and says he believes Jake Paul will be on PEDs, Tyron Woodley will not. Okay, I think Frost is showing his biases really hard here. Obviously pulling for the MMA guy over the boxer guy, but I also think it's a little disingenuous. We can go back to the Strikeforce days when Strikeforce was liquidated by the UFC. I believe Tyron Woodley was the champion at the time. He had just beaten Luke Rockhold, I believe, for the belt. So Woodley was a beast in Strikeforce, and he was a beast in his early UFC career. I would consider him a post-USADA fighter. Get into that in a second. And I will say that in his title run, I don't believe T. Woodley was on PEDs. He was using game planning and technique to beat his opponents. And he had a good title run. I want to say 4 title defenses, maybe 5, and he lost it on the 5th or 6th, whatever. But that's over a year. I mean, that's almost a 2-year run at champion in the USADA era. So that's pretty good. Now, what's a post-USADA fighter, you may ask? When USADA testing was implemented in the UFC, we saw a whole lot of changes from a whole lot of fighters. Some of the biggest things we saw would be reduction in mass and power changed. Guys that were knocking people out just weren't knocking people out anymore. Guys that were finishing people weren't, finishing people anymore with strikes, I should say. So there was plenty of UFC post-USADA fighters, believe you me. So having said that, knowing that T. Woodley was on PEDs for a good part, if not the better part of his career, I find this statement from Frosahabi highly disingenuous. Excuse me. But I have a lot of respect for Frosahabi, longtime head coach of GSP, who, looking back at his whole UFC career, I didn't see a physique change. I didn't see the power change. So I think GSP was clean. I could be wrong, as always, per usual. But that's just what I think. Let's move back to this very entertaining interview, sit-down interview, face-to-face with Ariel Helwani in the middle. Jake Paul brings up a lot of good things. But before I get there, T. Wood had a lot to say, and I think a lot of the stuff his mind is pretty sharp right now. I'm going to say that about T. Wood. He's a very intelligent dude anyway. As I said before, his MMA game planning, MMA IQ, his technical abilities, very high. So I can see right now the guy's mentally sharp, mentally very sharp. And he had some things to say that Jake didn't really have much of a response for, but I actually think they both handled themselves very, very well. Um, Pretty professional and still very entertaining. So, we don't always have to see guys throwing punches at each other and bad mouthing each other's families or whatever a day or two before the fight. Y'all are gonna fist fight. Like, you don't. It's whatever. So to see these guys sit there and banter back and forth, and it was just good. Anyway, I want to say that I don't follow Jake Paul's social media. I don't know the guy. I don't know anything about the dude, honestly. But he's been on MMA Fighter Pay for a long time. He's been on that train, and I appreciate it. I really do. He keeps saying that Tyron has the biggest payday of his career. He was UFC champion, and he never hasn't had the payday that he has for one fight with the UFC or Strikeforce says he does now. Pretty amazing. And Woodley has not denied it. So I have to believe that that's true, right? Might be assuming here. It's bad to speculate, but hey, that's what I think. But back to this fighter pay thing. I actually do agree with Jake Paul on this, and I'll also say this little side note. Let's get into the weeds a little bit. Like, anybody out here following Dana White on social media and just thinking he's the end all be all when it comes to MMA, and he is the godfather of MMA, whatever you want to say, I don't think that's correct. In my estimation, Dana White has done just as much to hurt the MMA fighters as he has to help the sport. And at this point, it may be more hurt than help. Dana has done a whole lot for this sport, man. But he's done a lot of wrong too. And so that's just a little aside there. We can't blindly follow any leader. That's a good lesson for today. Don't blindly follow anybody. Make your own decisions. Let's get back off of that, because Jake Paul is all about this. He thinks there needs to be a union for fighters in boxing and MMA. And T. Wood shot that down pretty quickly, but I don't think that's the correct attitude to have. I think professional athletes, we're talking about American football, tennis, basketball, hockey, whatever it is, soccer, these athletes, they're great at what they do, but I don't expect them to be scholars or businessmen or whatever. Like, somebody needs to protect these people, especially the MMA fighters. That's why the greatest athletes in the world aren't in MMA. The money's not there. Dana White in Viacom making a whole lot of money, but the fighters, I don't like it. So it is what it is. I think Jake Paul brings up a lot of great points. I think you should sit down and watch it, but I actually found myself really excited for this fight, and I'm going to order it. I think I'm going to pay for this one. I didn't order the Ben Askren fight because I knew what was going to happen in that fight. I thought Ben Askren was going to lose. I didn't know that he was going to lose the way he did. The fight was basically just taken from him. But I will be ordering this. I want to support both of these guys financially. I want them both to make money, so I'm going to be ordering it. And good on them, man. I think Tyron Woodley's had a lengthy career, and I don't like the word deserve, but I think he should get a payday like this. I don't know what it is, but I think he should get it, man. Like, he's put in the work, and good on Jake Paul. I don't want to talk about this dude personally. I don't know that I like what I see, but I'm going to tell you this. He's been very vocal about giving guys opportunities. He's been very vocal about these guys getting paid. I honestly think he cares about it. And that's awesome to me. So I think this dude's making some money. Oh, by the way, let me back up a bunch of steps here and just say I agree with Ross. I believe Jake Paul's on PEDs. But I think Tyron probably will be too. So anyway, let me get off of that. Let me just end this up, man. Man, just so excited to be talking combat sports again. And it gives me an idea. maybe you could comment below, if you want to see this or not. But I'm really thinking about doing like a few tutorial videos on basic techniques, like maybe stance or jab, maybe how to throw a good 1-2. So if you guys would like to see that, please say so in the comments below. And as you may or may not know, we in this community want to encourage information sharing. So please, any comments or questions, good, bad, or indifferent, you go ahead and put them right below. Because that's what we want to do around here. Share information. What you do with it's up to you. Yeah, I think that's about it. So, yeah, let's wrap this one up, man. As always, thank you for listening. Be good. Be safe. Boom.